5-year-old Sunny Hostin goes on The View and decides now would be a great time to dump all over the so-called uneducated.
What we did not have is white women who voted about 52%, right, for Donald Trump. Uneducated white women, is my understanding. You have Latino men, actually, voting more for him. And you have, and black men was not the story. We're not the story here because they voted almost 80% for the vice president.
Right. Just because you didn't go to college doesn't mean you're stupid, and it doesn't mean that you don't have wisdom. You can go to college and get a bunch of irrelevant facts about how men can allegedly give birth or whatever they teach. Or, but I said this to our team. I said working people, the muscular class, including working...
Sunny Hostin may be the strongest reminder in America that a Harvard law degree doesn't always translate into basic wisdom. Charlie Kirk points this out with his trademark humor, once again showing us how someone can look both smug and puzzled at the same time, almost as if giving a wandering TED-style lecture. But this time, instead of relying on his usual slideshow of patriotic outrage, Kirk chose a far simpler and sharper approach. To completely dismantle her arguments, he leaned on the most underestimated tool anyone can use: plain, straightforward logic.
Do you accept the View's apology? I mean, regardless of whether or not I accept it, the question is, do our students accept it? That's really what's at heart here. They went after our 5,000 students at our event there of high school and college kids. And look, I get attacked all the time. People say false things. I'm a public figure. But when you go after 16 and 17-year-olds that travel from across the country that then have to live for the rest of their life with a shadow over them because someone at ABC says that they might be linked to me.
One might expect that anyone who appears on a national talk show 5 days a week would develop at least a modest grasp of the issues they discuss, but that expectation is quickly shattered. Sunny Hostin has an almost unmatched talent for twisting even the simplest concepts, like confusing the speed of light with its intensity. If her arguments were tossed into a blender, she'd likely claim emotional harm before serving the very same muddled ideas.
But look, what did it take for us to get to the point of an apology? We had to threaten a lawsuit, Jesse. And by the way, we're still entertaining it. We're talking to some of the best lawyers out there that are experts in this. And as you know, these things can be very complicated. There's a lot of facts and circumstances around it. But we're not going to let this go, because you should not be able to smear 5,000 high school and college kids and then just be able...
Back to the audience. Instead of her usual role as the human version of a furrowed forehead, Sunny decided to wander into a political landscape so unclear that even a GPS would fail to chart it. With the frantic energy of a hamster tossed into a wind tunnel, she made yet another attempt to sway conservatives. The effort resembled someone trying to juggle flaming swords while wearing oven mitts. Bold? Perhaps? Smart? Definitely not.
The reason they felt they needed to do that, Jesse, is because if they told their audience the truth, that when gas is the most expensive it's been, flights are super expensive, that 5,000 kids decided to spend a weekend in summer traveling across the country to go hear from conservative speakers, maybe the audience of The View would think twice about all of their ideas. That's why they felt so compelled to try to smear our wonderful summit this last weekend.
Yeah, they have nothing else to talk about. Maybe you should get the lawyer that worked on that Covington Catholic school case. What was that, a $200 million settlement? I think, Charlie, you could use the money, and your students.
But Sunny doesn't just deliver bad takes. She soaks in them. She packages the mess, calls it journalism, and then sprinkles on a patronizing smile while tossing around misplaced legal jargon. Honestly, the credibility of anyone who insists she's making valid arguments ends up looking even weaker than the arguments themselves.
It's an up or down vote on a referendum on a highly complicated, very emotional, very personal issue. And it turned out the American people were like, yeah, actually, these other 6 things matter more, and good for them.
By the way, Sunny Hostin, I think, went to Notre Dame. Her son's at Harvard. Her daughter's at Cornell. She's married to the Ivy League, and that's why she looks down on everyone else as a bunch of stupid losers.
Charlie Kirk, on the other hand, seems to operate by 3 guiding forces: Red Bull, flag pins, and unshakable faith. Each morning, he probably brushes his teeth while reciting the Constitution, bootstraps firmly in place. Yet even Sunny Hostin appeared stunned by the sheer delusion pouring from his mouth like smug coffee from a malfunctioning espresso machine. This wasn't a debate. There was no exchange of ideas at all. Watching it was like seeing a chess master try to defeat a cat carrying a toaster. In this scenario, Sunny is the toaster, rigid, attention-seeking and emotionally unpredictable, more motivational billboard than rational thinker. With furrowed brows, she seriously claimed that conservative principles threaten democracy, as if auditioning to be a missing Kennedy heir. The irony is sharp. Someone who often views government oversight as oppressive suddenly frets that differing opinions could endanger liberty. It's the kind of spectacle that writes itself. With Sonny at the center and Kirk playing the role of provocateur, the scene practically turns into a sitcom.
I have a piece of evidence to show this more than anything else, that we look at how we elect our leaders in two buckets: stupid and smart. And the stupid people are the people that don't have a certificate from Yale, and the smart people are $200,000 in debt because they went to Drake. And so the breakdown, though, is that Donald Trump, which, by the way, is just smart politics, because there's more people that didn't go to college than did go to college. And I know that's really hard for the Democrats to realize, because everyone in their circle went to college, but the majority of the country actually does not have a 4-year college diploma. The majority of the country are people that have 2-year technical degrees or community college, or they just went into the workforce right out of high school. And so Donald Trump gave these...
The irony here isn't just thick, it's practically obese, needing a mobility scooter and its own zip code. Sonny, the living TED Talk of moral panic, is the same person who seems to believe the Department of Education should dictate your parenting, healthcare, religion, and maybe even your Spotify playlists, yet hand someone a pocket constitution and suddenly it's a domestic threat. Without applause, the whole scene feels more like performance art than politics. Her warnings about threats to democracy are as credible as a squirrel giving financial advice. Amusing, baffling, and oddly entertaining. Parents now confront school board members and anyone daring to suggest that taxes shouldn't function as a GoFundMe for government failures. This is her version of understanding risk. Still, Sonny comes prepared with a thesaurus packed with euphemisms for when the streets erupt. Rioting, fervent demonstrations, looting, redistribution therapy, outright violence, and urgent calls for aid. Her political science degree might as well have arrived in a cereal box, accompanied by a complimentary sample of illusion and a decoder ring. She's the star pupil of a political analysis class that treats anything not prefaced with a woman of color as flawed, free speech as oppression, and differing opinions as microaggressions. Watching her in action is like observing a math teacher with a severe number allergy, equal parts perplexing and hilarious.
And there was this Turning Points conference with all the smoke. What are they, smoking something down there? Or it's like, whatever. Anyway, they were out there, who are in the front of the conference, with anti-Semitic slurs.
Whoa, the drama. Charlie Kirk's organization, Turning Point USA, threatened to sue.
Then there's Charlie Kirk, but this time he approaches with the cool, practiced calm of someone who's been through this before. No yelling, no finger pointing required, no oversized hat or whiteboard necessary. As Sonny spun like a malfunctioning GPS, he simply raised an eyebrow so high it nearly filed a complaint with HR. It felt more like a study in restraint than a conversation. You can't stop someone from utterly sabotaging themselves. You just take notes and grab the popcorn. What's most striking is Sonny's ability to embody every pompous cliche as if it were an Olympic sport. She'd have a framed portrait of herself in her echo chamber above the fireplace, complete with a gold medal for drinking espresso while lecturing coal miners on gender theory. Like Jane Goodall observing gorillas, she scrutinizes the typical American, distant, curious, and utterly convinced of her own superior knowledge. You can almost hear the mental footnotes. A truly fascinating specimen, votes against self-interest, prefers burgers over quinoa, and insists on performing for an audience that may or may not exist.
And is
Isn't he the richest man in the world?
Yes, he is.
Okay.
And he's not going to have any temporary hardships. But then I'm kind of rethinking my thinking, and I do think that maybe it's time for the Democrats to do a little bit of this post-mortem, because the Democratic Party has always been the party of the working class. Has always been. If you look at all the policies, they're for the people. And I think even myself, as someone who grew up in abject poverty from the Bronx, my parents lived paycheck to paycheck. They had to decide whether or not they were going to feed me or whether or not we were going to...
She'd hop on a first-class flight to a climate summit just to convince Iowa farmers to buy more. If elitism had a poster child, it would be Sunny Hostin, explaining to plumbers why capitalism is flawed while draped in silk scarves and sipping imported Himalayan rainwater from a Manhattan condo funded by capitalists. It's performance art steeped in arrogance and disdain. Every word feels like a Harvard degree soaked in organic almond milk, used as a placemat for her avocado toast. She has an uncanny ability to turn issues people genuinely care about, freedom, education, taxes, into punchlines, suddenly questioning why your child's math class resembles a sociology seminar brands you as anti-progress. And in Sunny's own technical lexicon, advocating for lower taxes is nothing less than economic terrorism.
Hostin, who I think is truly the nastiest woman on television and a genuine racist and not that bright, despite her law degree and everything else. She found out a little bit, you know, these TV shows where they tell you a little bit about your family history and your ancestry. She found out some stuff about her ancestors that, well, take a look.
Wow, I'm a little bit in shock. I just always thought of myself as Puerto Rican. I didn't think I was, my family was originally from Spain and slaveholders.
She proudly cites her specialty in uplifting underrepresented voices, right before cutting off every participant with a viewpoint no one asked for. Watching her is like yelling at someone trying to do yoga on a treadmill, frustrating and bewildering. Sunny is a walking contradiction. She amplifies herself with a megaphone duct taped to a soapbox, managing somehow to feel like both Marie Antoinette and Rosa Parks at the same time. And the delivery? Flawless. A single hashtag on Twitter becomes a proclamation worthy of ending world hunger. That level of misguided confidence is alarming. Calling it a hate crime would be like accusing someone of walking through a sliding glass door. She speaks as if narrating a documentary on her own brilliance, even when flat out wrong. As a former federal prosecutor, you'd think she'd respect evidence, but in her courtroom, emotions reign supreme. Facts aren't welcomed unless they serve her narrative, becoming mere background scenery. She studies the world with a method that feels like a perpetual nod and repeat from Twitter, analyzing reality through a lens of self-assured performance.
Was there because of how they were treated and lied to during COVID and the political correct regime that coupled with COVID. So they lost proms, graduations, they had to wear masks, they were on Zoom class, and then during it, they were propagandized with the most ferocious, aggressive, misleading left-wing propaganda on race, on sexuality, on gender, on America that we've ever seen. And so now, 4 years later, this Gen Z was like, you know what? You guys in charge, the same people that were trying to lock up Trump, you guys materially messed up my life.
Sunny's favorite anthem seems to be the ever-dramatic America is Broken Beyond Repair remix. When a multimillionaire celebrity spends 7 straight minutes on national television criticizing the country that built her empire without even a brunchtime standing ovation, it's bold, to say the least. Irony might even want to cast a vote. Meanwhile, it's the viewer's brain cells that take the real hit. Charlie Kirk, usually as subtle as a jackhammer in a library, didn't need full regalia to respond. All he had to do was repeat Sunny's argument back to her and let it collapse under its own absurdity. He became, in essence, the janitor calming a toddler's tantrum, patience in one hand, broom in the other. Watching Sunny attempt to critique conservatism is like tossing glitter at a bear and calling it a defense strategy. Charming, almost adorable, but completely ineffective.
Wait, my whole life for this. Orthopedic surgeon and husband for the View host, Sunny Hostin, has been named in a federal lawsuit alleging insurance fraud. She got on television. She got in. These women tell me why her husband is named in a lawsuit in insurance fraud. And I'm gonna show you exhibit. Let me say exhibit B. Can you show this to the jury? Rolling in.
You know, doctors suffer because of big corporations as well. Doctors that want to do good, like my husband, operates on someone even though they don't have insurance. And they're talking about threatening him with insurance fraud. I would say you could get about 20 years in prison. So that's a death.
But for Sunny, it's more than a pastime. She thrives on being wrong, so giving up isn't in her vocabulary. Each morning, she perfects her historically accurate avocado toast before heading out to confuse millions. She does it 5 days a week because the stage is always ready. In her eyes, anyone with the flag on their porch is a secret tyrant, and anyone who challenges her is an enemy of the state. Her worldview resembles a Karl Marx quiz on BuzzFeed. Your favorite brunch item reveals which human rights violations you secretly support. Sunny came with grand intentions, but Charlie didn't just dismantle them. He let her dismantle herself. She tried to inject emotion, hide intellectual gaps with a morally superior scarf, and spin reason into existential crisis, comparing persecution to parental rights with pride. Watching her is like watching someone attempt to microwave a meal. Audacious, perplexing, and doomed to fail, Charlie needed only to raise an eyebrow and let her take the stage. Volume and confidence don't equal validity. Even if Sunny shouted her points from a megaphone on the moon, the effect would be the same: confusion, spectacle, and pure nonsense. Her opinions, whether born of commitment or ignorance, consistently land in the same place: unadulterated bullshit. She could blame Reagan for a children's book, capitalism for burnt toast, or traffic jams for systemic oppression, and all the while believe she's delivering harsh truths. Watching her is like attending an intellectual seance where logic begs for mercy. In a chaotic world, Sunny sees herself as a voice of reason, but she's more like a GPS insisting the lake ahead is an obstacle if you don't drive into it. Charlie didn't need to strike. She handed him the sledgehammer and asked him to swing. And yet, in true Sunny fashion, she walks away convinced she's won, because nothing says triumph like being publicly outthought by a man who arranges his books according to how furious liberals get.